All right, I'll start over. I've known Jim for a number of years. He's got a number of books, and I'll let him discuss the number or whatever he wants when he starts. But he's got a number of books published. He's got tons of songs written. He is a many times award winner. I could spend the next 45 minutes just covering the awards, and that would not allow him to talk. So I'm just going to say many-time award winner, author, as well as singer-songwriter, and a dear friend of mine, Jim Jones. Welcome to Southwest Writers.
Well, thanks. I appreciate you having me. Can y'all hear me okay? And now there's a, how did that happen? Shared content. Well, that's, all of a sudden there's a screen sharing up in front of me and I don't have any idea how that happened. Wow. I don't know how to get out of this. And
Jim, go back down. Go back down to your shared screen.
okay.
And it should, do you have an option there that says to stop screen sharing?
Well, Sandra Carnes is currently sharing her screen.
Oh, Sandra, it's your screen that came up.
Yes.
So we can't continue, Sandra, until your screen stops sharing. Do you need help with that? I'm going to have to, what I'm probably going to do, there we go. Good job.
Well, that was exciting. So I hope the topic tonight is from songs to books and back again. I hope you find it interesting. If you don't, it's Joe Brown's fault because he's the one that asked me to do it. So yeah, just to be clear about that. As Joe mentioned, I am a songwriter. I'm an author. I've also written children's books along with Western novels. So I do a lot of writing. Let me just a little bit of background about myself. From the time my mother started reading to me and my sister when we were toddlers, and I've been an avid reader since I could read. So I read everything I could get my hands on. I also loved television, Roy Rogers, Superman, you name it. I love going to the movies. So pretty much in whatever media form stories were presented, I was all over it. I loved stories. That's part of what I decided to do with this presentation when I was talking about from songs to books and back again, because for me, it's all about stories. I became an author, published my first book. It was about 2009, somewhere in there. And I got involved with the Western Writers of America. And that was a big boon to me. And I'm still involved with that organization. If you guys write anything related to Western material, it's a great organization. And you meet a lot of great people. So anyway, since I published my first book in 2009, I've since published 5 more novels. So I've got 6 novels out. I've got 2 children's books and a novella, and also published a book of essays from a year's worth of blogs that I did. So I tell a lot of stories in a lot of different forms. And the reason I'm telling you that is because at some point, I don't know how long it took me to say all that, but it just gets kind of ponderous, you know. It's like people say, what do you do? And it occurred to me actually fairly recently when I was discussing the whole question of branding yourself, that maybe a way that would be accurate and would be succinct and really say it all for me. When somebody asks me what I do, I say I'm a storyteller. I actually had somebody say, well, that's not much. And I thought, well, that's crazy. It's everything. I mean, if there's one thing above anything else that marks humanity as unique. It's our ability to tell stories, to take our experiences and share them with each other. And we've been doing that since men and women lived in caves, and we do it now. We just do it in different ways. So I decided I was a storyteller. And so for me, that's part of the whole thing that helps me get from writing a song to writing a book, or writing a book and getting back to writing a song. Today, you know, I mentioned, so there were, when I was watching TV and watching shows as a little kid, there were 3 networks. As I look at the pictures here, most of you remember that probably, or a few people maybe not, but there were only 3 networks. So that was what you got to watch. I couldn't even begin to count how many different platforms there are these days, different ways to get our stories out there. And, you know, there's streaming, there's, you know, Marvel used to be just a comic book. Now Marvel is a franchise. There's movies everywhere. There's obviously there are print books, there's ebooks. I remember when I first joined Western Writers, one of the things that everybody was all a Twitter about, they were concerned about, was that ebooks were going to wipe out print books. Well, it didn't turn out that way, but we sell a lot of ebooks, we sell a lot of print books. So it seems to me that the landscape just continues to get broader and broader. The opportunities get broader and broader. So how does that relate to writing songs and writing books? So let me just tell you a little bit about the story of how I got into the book writing business. So I have this song, which I'm going to do for you in just a second, just so you hear the song. And it's a story song. I was influenced by all those Austin songwriters back in the 70s. And I thought, what a great way to spend my time as a musician is telling stories and writing original material. So when I wrote this song, people seemed to really like the story. And at some point, sometime in the late 2000s, like 2007, something like that, I thought, well, I've never written a book. How hard could it be? I see a couple of people smiling. I hope you're smiling because, you know, out of that ignorance, I just leaped off the cliff and started writing a book. And of course, as you know, it's really hard. It's a whole lot of work. But it was also a lot of fun, and it was a different way of telling stories. I'm going to refer back to that, the different ways of telling stories throughout this thing. But let me do this song for you. And I'll try to enunciate so you can hear the words, and because it tells a story. And then I'll tell you more about how it became a book. This is called Rustler's Moon. And by the way, the concept of the Rustler's Moon is something I found out about when I was reading Lonesome Dove. So essentially, I stole it from Larry McMurtry, but he stole it from somebody else. It's been around for a long time. There's a part in the early part of Lonesome Dove where Gus is explaining the finer points of cattle rustling to Newt. And he's telling him about, because they're getting ready to get a herd together to go to Montana. And that's how the story starts, this big, huge cattle drive from Texas to Montana. They got to get a herd. And so they were going to go south of the border and gather some cattle down there. And he was explaining to Newt about the time you do it is at night, but you don't want to do it on a full moon night because they can see you, and that's not good. On the other hand, you don't want to go when it's a new moon because you can't see where you're going. So someone decided the prime time for rustling cattle was when it was a quarter moon, and it became known as the Rustler's Moon. And I thought, I can steal that, and I did. So I wrote this song. So let me do that for you, and then come back and talk a little bit more about how that became a book.
first time I saw him, he was standing on a hill, looking 10 times larger than life. I can't erase the image, guess I never will. After all the years, it cuts just like a knife. He said, howdy cowboy, now ain't you mighty young to travel down the road to rage and ruin? If you got a notion and if you got a gun, we ride tonight by the light of the rustler's moon. He said an outlaw never travels when the moon is full and bright. The posse on your trail is hard to shake. If you travel with the new moon, you travel without light, and your horse won't make it far if his leg breaks. The quarter moon's the answer, the old man's on your side. The time to seize the night is coming soon. So saddle up those horses, it's time for us to ride and try our luck by the light of the rustler's moon. 'Cause we ride at night by the light of the rustler's moon, shining through our souls. We live or die underneath the sky by the light of the rustler's moon, the rustler's moon. 2 years we rode together with me staring at his back. By moonlight it was all I could see. And out there on the dusty trail, I think that I lost track. I wondered what was him and what was me. Time was when I swear I would have followed him to hell to fight the devil's minions in the gloom. I never could see clear enough to break his magic spell by the light of the rustler's moon. But finally the sun rose, I saw the light of day. I thanked the Lord I hadn't gone too far. No more quarter moon for me, I had to find my way by the light of a shining silver star. For though we went our separate ways, we vowed to meet again. Deep inside our hearts, we both knew the lawman and the outlaw is down to me or him in the light of the rustler's moon. 'Cause we ride at night by the light of the rustler's moon, shining through our souls. We live or die underneath the sky by the light of the rustler's moon, the rustler's moon. I saw him, he was standing on a hill, looking 10 times larger than life. Well, I can't erase the image, guess I never will. After all the years, it cuts just like a knife. He said, howdy cowboy, your pony sure can run. I never thought I'd see you quite so soon. If you plan to catch me, I hope you brought your gun, and I hope that you can aim by the light of the moon. 'Cause we ride tonight by the light of the rustler's moon, shining through our souls. We live or die underneath the sky by the light of the rustler's moon, the rustler's moon. Rustler's moon. So, thank you, thank you. I see clapping. I can't hear clapping, but I see it. So here's the
Jim, can you hear me?
Yes.
The sound was starting to fade toward the end of the song. Can you check your levels?
Yeah, that's turn everything up a little bit. Is that, can you hear me okay right now? Okay, thanks, Dan. Okay, sorry about that. But so here's the deal. That song has got 450 words. It's a little bit longer than your average song. Most songs that I write and that I see other people write have about 400 words. And so somehow when I decided it was a good idea to write a book, I thought, well, I got to expand it by about 80,000 words. And that's pretty tricky. But one of the things that I figured out from looking just at this song was essentially, and you guys are writers, you know what a synopsis is. Essentially, it was a synopsis for a story. And so my challenge from taking a song to a book was to take this synopsis and then obviously flesh it out, as you would if you just came up with a synopsis of your own and an outline, and organize your thoughts that way. The thing about writing a song is you only have 400 words essentially to tell a story. And so you don't have the benefit of all the narration that we might have in a novel. You don't you can have some dialogue, like the song Rustler's Moon is a combination of imagery and dialogue. There's dialogue in the song between the protagonist and the bad guy, but a lot of it's images. In fact, in the first verse, I talk about the first time I saw him, he was standing on a hill looking 10 times larger than life. I can't erase the image. I guess I never will. After all the years, it cuts just like a knife. Are you guys hearing this okay? This part?
Yes,
Yeah.
we got you.
Okay, yeah, because I don't want to just flap my lips and have you try to read them, but
Nope,
so,
you're doing it good now. It's all
okay.
good.
Okay, good. So anyway, so that first two lines about standing on the hill larger than life, can't erase the image, it cuts like a knife. I actually included those lines in the prologue of my book, my first book. And there's dialogue in it where the guy talks to the cowboy and wants to know his story, and is he interested in going out and rustling cattle. So I took this song and expanded it, and that's the process. And so if you have the other part of it in terms of what could be useful to you guys, because I don't know how many of you, if any, are interested in writing songs. I know Joe has written some songs. Ashley has mentioned to me about the possibility of writing songs. And I don't know if the world needs more singer-songwriters, and we probably already have too many as it is. But one of the things about writing a song that's a good exercise for a writer, like I said, is that you're limited in your words. And so if you have a story idea, one of the things it forces you to do is express those in images. And that's good, because when you write a book, that's part of what you're doing too. You're painting pictures with your words. And in a song, it really forces you to do that because you don't have that many words. I was trying, there was something, oh, I know what it was. I have a line in here that I was really proud of when I wrote this song. I wrote it 20 something years ago, at least. And I was talking about the bad guy. And there was a time when I would have followed him to hell to fight the devil's minions in the gloom. And I thought that was really powerful. And then, of course, they came out with the cartoon characters, the Minions, and they're these cute little things. It just kind of knocked the legs right out from under that line. So I was kind of disappointed with that. But in general, those are the kinds of benefits, if you're a writer, to trying to write a song, even if you can't carry a tune, even if you don't know how to write music. Writing a story in song form is something that will sort of force you. For example, I have a friend who is now a very successful singer-songwriter, and when I met her in the Western Writers Organization, she was at that time a professor of Indian studies, Native American studies at a university in the East, and she published books on all kinds of in Native American related topics. And so she wrote scholarly treatises, and so that she wanted to write songs. And so she asked me to help her with it. And I finally had to say, you're not writing an article for a scholarly journal. You're telling a story with your words and your music. And it's okay to speak in incomplete sentences, and to speak in phrases, and to talk about, to have that image of the Rustler's Moon kind of carry people through, and kind of grab them. So as a result, I took the characters in that song, and then of course the process, as you know, to write a book often involves a lot of research. Interestingly enough, for this song, I did a lot of research. I actually had the idea to set this song in Cimarron, New Mexico, which was kind of the epicenter of the Colfax County Wars in the late 1800s. And that was related historically to the Santa Fe Ring and the New Mexico legislature, which was also, that group was involved in the whole mess down in Lincoln County and Billy the Kid. So I put this all in a historical context, and started with this basic story and then expanded it. So that was the way it started. So then following that, at some point, it seemed to me that maybe I should write a second book. And so I did. And it was called, I got on this moon kick, which I'm still on. Who knew there were so many different kinds of moons? There's a waning moon and a halo moon. And but anyway, so my second book, when I wrote that, I sort of took it from the opposite direction. And after I got the book, I decided I should write a song from the book. This is something, I have a friend, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the writings of a guy named Mike Blakely from Texas. Mike is a really fine singer-songwriter. He's also a very successful author who's written multiple novels. And one of the things he does is take characters out of his books. He's got if you're interested, you should make note of this, that named Mike Blakely, Blakely, and his music, he's got a song called Slow Falling Rain that's based on a character out of his books. One of the most beautiful love songs that I've ever heard. And he took this from the character that he had created in the book. So it works both ways. So again, yeah, thank you, Silver. I appreciate that. Going the other way, from the novel to the book, it's the same challenge in reverse. It's how do you take this whole story and condense it down to basically 400 words in 4 or 5 minutes. So I want to do another song for you that I did from in that direction. And this is my latest novel. It's called Halo Moon. And the halo moon is essentially it's a full moon with a hazy cloud around it. And that's meteorologists will tell you that possibly signifies that there's going to be a change in the weather. If you see the moon and it's got this hazy ring around it, the weather may be changing. It's kind of an old wives' tale related to that, is that it means something's going to happen and it ain't good. It's not necessarily good. And so I chose that image for this book. And of course, it's another 80,000 word book. And so I decided I needed to represent it in a song. This song is an example, a good example, I think, of the use of images and creating kind of the mood that reflects the book. So if somebody hears this song, they're going to have an idea of what the book feels like even if they don't have a real clear idea what the whole story is. And so it's called Halo Moon, and here it is.
There's a halo around the moon, even though the night is clear. You can feel the tension building, there's danger in the air. A storm on the horizon, there's trouble coming soon. Be aware there's a halo moon. Lulled to sleep by good times, and now your guard is down. Unprepared, you're bushwhacked when bad weather comes around. Raining down upon you like a bolt out of the blue. Take heed, there's a halo moon. Halo moon, try to tell you there's peril on the prowl. Now you hear the ghosts and banshees, hear the wildcats howl. Too late, you hear the warning of your impending doom. You should have paid attention to the halo moon. Possessed by premonition that you should have seen before. The time has come and gone for you to shut and lock the door. The hard rain will be falling, there's no way that you stay dry. Halo moon is in the sky. It's sometime after midnight, you find it hard to breathe. If you'd only paid attention, there would still be time to leave. If you'd listen to the voices that cried out in the gloom. Be aware of the halo moon. Halo moon, try to tell you there's peril on the prowl. Now you hear the ghosts and banshees, hear the wildcats howl. Too late, you hear the warning of your impending doom. You should have paid attention to the halo moon.
Thank you. I hope you could hear that okay. I don't know what's going on with my sound equipment, but so if you listen to the words of that song, it's not necessarily going to tell you a great deal about what the story's about, because it's mostly images. But I think it you know, I didn't really start out to do this, but I wound up kind of writing a ghost story with the song, and that evokes this kind of sense of eeriness that is a big part of this book. So it's and one of the things that I think is important in terms of expanding the ways in which
we can't hear you again, Joe.
I don't know what's going on.
It's like the music's real loud, and then when you put the guitar down, it just kind of your voice is real quiet.
Huh.
Now it's fine. Now it's fine. Whatever you did there.
I don't know what's going on, but I apologize. I don't know. I didn't do anything but just move my mic a little bit, but I'll move it closer. So what I was talking about was the whole notion of expanding the ways each of us tells our stories and looking for options to go along with our primary, you know, if you're an author and that's what you do, that's what you want to focus on, obviously, but there are other ways to, you know, well, in fact, someone was mentioning they just had a short story published, that, you know, things like that. I think songwriting is another way of getting the word out. It's interesting for me in terms of just commercially and trying to sell things. When I go perform somewhere at an event, and it's a music event, I always take my books with me as well. And I never know. There are plenty of times where I will sell more books than I sell CDs or flash drives, because people hear a song and it piques their interest. And so that's a benefit. The other thing, and I don't see her, Elizabeth Layton's not with us tonight, I don't think, but she and I are working on a possible screenplay. And I think as authors, obviously all of us are pretty convinced that our book is the next streaming sensation. And so, but I think, you know, the whole notion of finding that sweet spot between imagery and dialogue, probably a screenplay is where it's at, because unless you have a full-time narrator in your production, you're going to be telling your story through the dialogue and through the images. So cross-marketing is a real plus. So, you know, like I said, I think I'm not sure, Joe, why you thought this would be of interest to people, but to me, the thing that I think all of us probably ought to be thinking about is in today's market and with today's technology and all the different platforms and stuff, what are the most effective ways to get our work out there, so people can read it, hear it, watch it, and so that's where I'm coming from as a storyteller, is to come at it with multiple different forms of storytelling. I don't know if people have thoughts, questions, things they want to bring up.